I would love it. Can you imagine if there was something for CT brain trauma for football players, fighters, all these athletes, where you say, hey, when you're done playing, you can take this and you meet with this therapist and you're going to be fine. You know what the game changer that would be?
And I think with, for everything that I know, my good friend, a doctor that I know, Dr. Dan Engel, he just wrote a draft of a book called The Concussion Repair Manual that I'm going to give you an example of. And there's not one smoking gun. There's not one thing. Like, it seems like psilocybin might be able to knock out depression and MDMA might be able to knock out PTSD. But the brain as an organ and as tissue is really complicated.
So when it's damaged.
And so it's a combination of, there's some really good evidence that cat's claw, which is an Amazonian herb, is really valuable. And then CBD is really valuable. And then turmeric with curcumin is really valuable, like dropping all of these inflammatory responses in the body. And then doing things like hyperbaric oxygen is really important. Yeah. Like glutathione, which is the master antioxidant for the liver. You got to attack it from like 10 different perspectives, at least as far as everything that we're seeing now. It's just really going to be this multifaceted approach that's going to start to bring things back. But I think we'll get there. It's just going to have to be more of a protocol rather than a single treatment.
But again, it goes back to education. It's a matter of fact of finding, just a matter of time, finding what works and trying it, but being aggressive about it.
We got to, because this is there's a whole crop of human beings that are having a lot of suffering because of this. And it's not just the top athletes. These are people. No. How many people play Pop Warner through high school football?
Tons of people.
Tons of people. And even they're finding like people who are heading soccer balls their whole life.
Oh, soccer, a ton of concussions, tons of brain trauma.
And do we want to have a world where people don't play these sports? Like,
no, that's the thing.
I don't want that world either. So the solution is find better ways to fix the brain.
And it's not putting a bigger fucking helmet or taking the helmets off or changing the gloves. It's none of that. It's actually finding a way to cure the brain.
Yep.
Take care of the brain, I should say, and cure these things. And I think what's scary, the UFC's, we're in leather helmet days right now. We're in infancy stages. You wait 10 years. Meet an old UFC vet, your favorite guy, and you'll have a conversation with him like, what in the fuck? Yeah. What is going on here? And that's the price you pay, man. Yeah. Now, and again, we're in the infancy stages. Wait 10 years, man. There's going to be some shit. Look, football's going through it now. They settled in court. There's that huge concussion case, right? The guys are getting, there's hundreds of millions of dollars in settlement. Wait for the UFC, man. Wait for mixed martial arts. It's coming. It's coming. Scary stuff.
It is. Hopefully, I'm hoping too that there'll be some adaptations in training, like maybe the utilization of VR to take off some of the sparring load.
Yeah.
Some ways in which you can just diminish that, because the fights suck, but that's an acute, like the body's good at recovering from acute trauma. Mm-hmm. Like something happens once or a couple times and the body recovers. Like body's super good at that. What body sucks at is recovering from chronic trauma, which is sparring day in and day out, constantly getting hit. And I think if people can find ways, because you need the rounds, you got to be able to move and react, but find ways to blend technology and the people who spar without headgear too, like you still see that, like I don't see as good. What?
I know.
What? You don't see as good?
It's uncomfortable.
It's on what?
I know.
Like, no, put your headgear on.
I know, man.
But finding ways to get smarter about that, I think that's going to be really, really key.
And I think it's going to take, the UFC opened up that big kind of lab and the whole research center. And I think it's going to take some creme de la creme doctor, someone going, this is what you guys should be doing. And it's going to take some champion going, this is what I did. Whether it's Connor, someone like Connor comes along and goes, here's what I did. I took no damage in training. This is the protocol I did. Here you go. Because there's kind of these pioneers who changed the game. GSP so far is the face of it. He's our George Washington, because he was the first guy who really approached it like a training camp. Where he was doing different stuff. He would do these 8-week camps, and he had a dietitian, he had a massage therapist. He met with a mental coach. He would go to yoga. He would do gymnastics. He would do this. Then he'd do boxing here. Then he'd train with the Olympic Center. And he'd I remember seeing that for the first time, like, oh my God, here you go. And that trickled down. Mm-hmm. So you need someone that comes along and goes, I'm not getting hit in the head during training anymore, man. This is what I'm doing. But then he's performing in the octagon.
Yep.
I don't know who it's going to be, but they'll come along.
I think Connor's close. Connor's close to doing that. He's not taking a lot of fucking head trauma.
I don't know what his exact training looks like. I'm not sure. But
he needs to publicly go out and do that. But he's probably not going to do that until he's retired, though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Doesn't want to give up the secrects.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But you need.
But you're right, though, man.
This is what's going on. Because in football, like a guy like Jim Harbaugh or trying to think, there's been some other coaches who we don't hit in camp. We don't, once we end the season, we don't hit anymore. Mm-hmm. These guys should know how to hit. Why would I put risk their head in these injuries during training? Mm-hmm. Like, to get to this level, you know how to play football, you know how to attack each other. So we do no contact anymore. And when we heard that, especially coming from my background, like, what a bunch of pussy, right? It's like that ego kicks in. You're like, oh my God, that's hilarious. And then they start winning games. And then it's the end of the season. They're fresher than we are. And then now other teams go, well, we're going to try that too. Mm-hmm. And then, again, it started this thing where now there's no two-a-days. You can't do 3 2-a-days in a row anymore. You can't do these crazy long practices. You can only hit this much. You can only do so. It's just, again, this education and the kind of the evolution of sports.
More is not more. That's this idea that we have, like, more work will be better work. No, you got to work efficiently. You got to work smart.
Smart work.
You got to, more training is better. No, it's not. You got to train and then recover efficiently. Like, in every aspect of what you do, like, doing your best isn't doing the most. Mm-hmm. Doing your best is finding that sweet spot where you've done, your best work that allows you still to recover and perform excellently the next day.
Doing efficient work.
Yeah, it's the same even with me writing a book. Like, I can write 16 hours, but then the last 6 is going to be shit, mm-hmm. And it's not going to be good, and I'm going to be exhausted, and I'm going to lose any sense of humor that I had, any kind of enjoyment in it, and it's just going to it's going to feel like a grind when people read it, rather than if I just do a good 6-7 hours in a day and then call it a day, and then go on from there. And anything that you do, like, finding that sweet spot of where the balance is, because we can't bear the stress forever. We don't want to be stressed out forever. You're stressed out forever, your immune system goes off, your inflammation's high. Like, stress response and recovery, stress response and recovery. Like, that's what we need to get to and be mindful of.
In MMA, it's tough because, it's always like, I'm going to out-train the guy I'm fighting, of the pressure of the fight, the nerves from the fight, getting ready for a fist fight in front of millions of people. So you have that pressure. And remember, your coaches aren't your age. They're old school. So they want you to spar, and you need to do this, and let's outwork the competition. And it's just kind of this old way of thinking. So I'm thinking, as the game evolves and the fighters currently there now go, God, I've been through that, man. I was always hurt going to fights. That's not the way to do it. And they become coaches, and they're training the younger generation. You're going to slowly start to phase out those meatheads.
Agreed. Yeah, things happen because, again, people don't change their mind. That's the fucked up thing. Yep. It's like, people don't change their mind just like, all right, I think you're right. Very few people can do that. Those are like the 1%ers who can, like, totally pivot their position. Mm-hmm. And that's awesome. But otherwise, it just has to be new people replacing them. And we see that in government policy. You see that in coaches. And you see, like, just the new crop rises up and, like, all right, we're doing this shit differently.
But you can see it in technology and anything. Like, people that rise to the top, like, look at Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not doing it like that. Our office shouldn't be that way. Our store shouldn't be that way. And then it changes.
Yeah.
Like, these people go, and then now everyone follows them.
Yep.
But for a while, people thought they were crazy. That's the way it goes, man.